You're listening to a Raconteur Studios podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the After Hours Skin Clinic. I'm Dr. Ellie Rashid, one half of your hosting duo, and I'm taking the reins solo today to explore one of the most talked about and often mystifying corners of the skincare world, K-beauty. Korean skincare has exploded globally, and it's predicted to be a jaw-dropping £13.5 billion industry by 2030. I'm joined by Korean skincare expert Dr. Christine Hall to decipher what's fact, what's fiction, and what actually works. For those of you who don't yet know Christine, allow me to quickly introduce her. Dr. Christine started her career as a GP and pharmacist before becoming a leading figure in aesthetic medicine. And when she's not at the Tak-Tuk clinic, alongside Dr. Wasim Tak-Tuk, she's an emergency doctor and GP for the NHS. Welcome to the podcast, Christine.
Thank you so much.
So, before we get into the ins and outs of Korean skincare, you come from 5 generations of food scientists. Is that true?
That is true. That's on my dad's side. My mum's South Korean, so a lot of our food was obviously Korean food, which is very, very healthy, lots of kimchi. I like to think that actually we are not a family that has a very sort of exclusive diet or anything like that. It's everything in moderation. Nothing was sort of banned or anything like that. But no, it was healthy, but surprisingly, coming from 5 generations, it wasn't that regimental. My granddad was a microbiologist, and he used to do some interesting things with food. He would boil tinned foods before eating them and things like that because he'd seen some interesting things. But no, in my family, we were pretty healthy, I think.
And what inspired your interest in K-beauty?
So my mum's South Korean, so I would spend lots of summers when I was growing up in South Korea. Skincare out there it's not just something that you have to do in the morning or evening. It's almost like their ritual. It's something that families get together. I can remember sitting in front of the TV with my grandma, my aunt, my mum, watching a movie, everyone patting in various like lotions and essences into their skin. Really sweet. And, it's not something I necessarily did as a child, but I was just surrounded by it. And then growing up, obviously, I then decided to go into pharmacy, so I saw the kind of manufacturing side of things, and then medicine, so I saw some of the skincare conditions and things like that, and then going into aesthetics. It's just all kind of slotted together.
Together beautifully. So, lots of our listeners will be familiar with what K-beauty is, but from your perspective, what do you understand about K-beauty, and what do you think underlies some of the K-beauty philosophies?
So, in its simplest term, K-beauty is literally beauty products that have kind of been researched and innovated in Korea. If you look at it in a little bit more detail, I think in Korea, their innovations and their technologies, they're estimated to be about 10 to 12 years ahead of the rest of the world. So they are bringing across some of the most innovative ingredients, even their packaging, things like that. So, K-beauty really is innovative products, new ingredients, new technologies. They're bringing AI into things now. And I think it's just exploded in recent years as all part of this kind of, they call it actually the Korean wave. It's called Hallyu, and it's the kind of global rise in popularity of not just K-beauty, it's K-pop with Gangnam Style, K-dramas ranking #1 sometimes on Netflix. You had Squid Game and all of those things, Korean food. So the whole kind of culture has just exploded. But underpinning Korean beauty, there was this very, very old philosophy that was within a beautiful body rests a beautiful soul. And so giving the best version of yourself when you go meet another person is considered as a sign of respect, and that person believes that you are possibly a better person. So K-beauty was underpinned many, many years ago. They were doing things long, long before us. And they're kind of at the core of it is your skin barrier. So it's about comforting, nourishing the skin barrier, flooding it with hydration. I think it's interesting over here in the West, quite often skin flares up, it goes a bit red. And some people will react to that by saying, oh, that's great, it's doing something, keep going. Whereas in Korea, if that happens, everything stops. You need need to pare back, you need to go back onto your nourishing ingredients. So it's all about skin barrier as well.
I feel like there is a lot more respect with the skin barrier when it comes to the K-beauty products. Like, there's a real nourishing element to it. And here it's like, the more it stings, the more it burns, the more you should just keep going
it's
with
doing
it.
it. Yeah.
And then they run into all sorts of problems with perioral dermatitis, get a big inflammatory reaction, then they have to strip everything back. I do find that a younger audience is very interested in K-beauty products. Do you think that's to do with social media, or do you think that's to do with just them needing to look after their skin barrier a
I think
little bit more?
it's definitely driven by social media. I think without social media, the news wouldn't have spread like it has. But I think also K-beauty products are really affordable. And when you're younger, you can't afford to spend that much money. And also, a lot of the packaging is really cute. It's not like Western packaging. A lot of their advertising is very cute. So it just appeals to a different group of people.
I feel like K-beauty is also responsible for quite quirky trends.
Yeah.
Which of those have been your favourite, and do they actually really deliver?
So I think, you would know better than I do about evidence-based behind skincare ingredients and things. There's loads of things that you use in K-beauty that when you try and go away and you read the evidence about it, that's not there. One of the biggest things, I think, was Snail Mucin, which when you go look for medical papers, you won't find it, but there are literally millions of people who swear by Snail Mucin. There's been all sorts of things, bee venom and other wild ingredients. I received a body cream the other day and it had mealworm oil in it. I did try a little bit of it and I have to say it was the silkiest texture I have ever felt in a cream, but I just couldn't bring myself to apply the rest of it. But some of them... You would.
Why wouldn't you?
Oh, I'll bring it to you.
You just freaked out by it.
I don't know. The Snail Mucin, they're all clean. And I found out recently, because there was always this debate about how the Snail Mucin is collected. So apparently they're on these kind of mesh nets and they glide over these nets and the mucin drops through and they collect it and then it's very highly purified and filtered.
I'm sure they really highly purify the mealworm, whatever it is.
I don't know. I'll bring it for you.
It reminds me of like on the wards when someone had these really huge wounds or ulcers and you do like maggot therapy and literally just put maggots into the wound and just watch that wound heal.
Get
it's
better.
Absolutely fascinating. I loved it.
It's absolutely great. I've seen the other sort of end of that where you've had people that have had chronic wounds. This is in A&E, chronic wounds for a really long time, and you come in and you open a bandage that clearly hasn't been changed for weeks and there's just maggots crawling everywhere. But it does make you wonder whether or not that wound would have been significantly worse without the maggots.
Yeah. Maybe they did themselves a favour. Also to say, things have been very highly purified when we're incorporating. I remember when people first said like Snail Mucin, I was like, are you joking? I'm not putting that stuff on my face. And then actually I've used a few products that have got Snail Mucin in it and it's lovely, glides on really nicely. And also I just don't feel like they need to have much evidence because all doctors will want a strong evidence base in order to recommend something.
Yeah.
But because these aren't drugs, they will never have the same degree of robust clinical evidence compared to prescription treatments.
Yeah.
So you just sort of have to try them, see if you like them, if they're respecting your skin barrier, if they feel nice to put on, then sort of why not?
So I think PDRN is an interesting one. So the salmon sperm derived.
Yes.
So I remember actually going into Dr. Wasim's room about 3.5 years ago and saying to him, there's this injectable. We need to bring it over because this is going to be big. And he said, what is it? And I said, well, it's derived from salmon sperm. And he literally looked at me and he's like, you're being disgusting. Get out. And then obviously Q 2024 and the world has gone mad for various different salmon sperm injectables, whether that be Plinest or Regeran, which was the original. But again, as an example of how far ahead Korea are, they brought out Regeran in 2014 and we only started injecting it in 2024. Now, I have to say that sometimes that works to our benefit because they do things that don't always work out and we get to see how they do before we bring it over here, but we're a good way behind. So I think human exosomes actually were done in Korea for some time and obviously now they're illegal in the UK.
Thinking about quirky K-beauty trends, what are your thoughts on bee venom?
Bee venom, I think it became popular probably around 2024, died off a little bit. I have tried it myself. I didn't see a huge deal, to be honest.
So bee venom is meant to be anti-inflammatory, and its main compound is this ingredient called melittin. And they did this really interesting study in mice published this year in the International Journal of Medical Science, where they injected bee venom and melittin into the skin of mice and looked at metabolomics, so looking at these different pathways. And they found that the injections with bee venom led to regulation of some of the anti-aging pathways, and then the injected sites with melittin led to regulation of some of the lipid and cholesterol pathways. So I think it's an interesting area, and I think there might be something to it. And I'm sure that brands will start to develop skincare that has this ingredient in it as we learn more about its effect on skin.
Interesting.
Next trending K-beauty quirk is Fig's collagen. What do you think of that?
So I actually quite like collagen as an ingredient. I think there's this kind of misunderstanding around it because lots of people say, but the molecule's too big to penetrate the skin. And that's absolutely right. This doesn't mean that you're going to get collagen in your skin, but it works as a humectant. So it draws moisture in. So it's a really nice hydrating ingredient. So yeah, I think actually that one does work.
I agree with you. I think collagen, even though it might not penetrate the skin, I think it sets off signaling pathways that must do something because it helps to upregulate some of those signaling pathways and carrier peptide pathways to deliver some of those key essential ingredients to help improve our skin cell turnover, to help improve our skin collagen elastin production. So I think there is a role for collagen peptide ingredients in skincare.
Yeah, I agree. And I certainly see a difference in my skin when I've used it, especially one of those collagen masks.
I want to ask you about the collagen masks.
Okay.
So they're hugely fashionable,
Yeah,
and very trendy. And it does look great on social media when people put this lovely mask on their face. It looks quite cool. Do you think they work, and do you use them personally?
So I've used them a few times. In terms of masks, they're very easy to use. What's good about them is you would expect them to kind of slip off and be very annoying. They actually stick on very well, and you can kind of go on about what you're doing with your everyday life, and presumably not going outside though, because you do look a bit crazy. So for anyone that doesn't know, they go on as kind of like this jelly mask. You apply them onto your skin, and as the day goes on, or even overnight, they kind of dry out, they become transparent, and then you peel them off. What they leave behind is very, very glass-like skin, so kind of almost translucent, very dewy. For anyone who's got like a big night out or an event, putting your makeup on afterwards looks incredible. The only downside, I think, with these masks is that the results are not that long-lived. It's almost like they lock everything in, they lock all the hydration in, but you go away, you wash your face a couple of times, you're sort of back to where you were. So I think they're brilliant for like a big event, or if your skin's just feeling really dry and you need to repair your barrier a little bit or anything like that, but don't expect them to give you a result that's going to last all week.
When you were younger, did you ever used to like put glue and then just like peel the glue off your hand or arm?
No, darling, I'd go and play in the garden.
I've actually never used those masks, but I think I would get so much satisfaction out of the peeling it off process.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of my childhood of peeling off this glue.
If you like peeling off glue, so there is one by Medicube, and it's called Collagen Wrap, and it's in a tube, and it's more peely. And if you want to put some on your arm, you
I'm
could.
I'm going to put it all over. Literally a full body collagen mask.
You go for it.
Chewy, gorgeous skin all over. Another big trend, placenta-derived products.
So placenta-derived products, it's dropped now in popularity a little bit. I think you don't see them as much. I think a lot depends on probably the product, what it's derived from, what's in it, everything, all these skincare ingredients that we talk about, they're kind of dose dependent, aren't they? If they're in such tiny doses, they're not going to do anything. And a lot of the placenta-based products, from what I recall, the amounts of active in there was so little, it perhaps wasn't doing very much. I'm going to be very honest, I've actually never used one because I can't get over the grossness of it. So I can't vouch for whether or not I think they work. But from a kind of evidence-based point of view, like everything in skincare and every ingredient, it's all about dose dependency. But I think there is some evidence that it works.
Yeah, so there was an article published in Nature in 2022 looking at human placental extract. And then they looked at RNA expression. So looked at like gene expression of how different proteins are made in the skin. So the genes are what encode for proteins being made. And they looked at fibroblast activity, and it was upregulated. So there's more fibroblast activity in the presence of human placental extract. So probably more collagen's being made, and so then therefore more support. So I can completely see why placental extract would be a really popular ingredient to incorporate into products. Another thing that I definitely want to know more about, which I know you know loads about, is spicules. So what are they and how are they meant to help?
Okay, so spicules were South Korea's biggest trending ingredient last year, and it was sold out everywhere. So you've obviously heard of microneedling. So this is also known as liquid microneedling. So these are microscopic spicules or needles that are derived from purified sea sponge. And these spicules are then either kind of soaked in or bonded to an active ingredient. And depending on the brand, whatever ingredient it is bonded to is different. So the brand that went really viral last year is called VT Riedel Shot. Their spicule is bonded to centella or cica. So it's meant to be a calming ingredient. So the idea is that there is only a certain amount of product that really absorbs through the skin due to molecular size. The idea of these spicules is that they actually penetrate the outer layer of the skin. They create a tiny amount of trauma in doing so. So the theory is that that creates a bit of collagen, but also it is taking with it that active ingredient that it's bonded to. So it's delivering an active ingredient deeper than it would normally be able to go. So the studies have shown that it increases absorption of an active by 60 times. It has been shown to stimulate collagen. And of course, you can get sort of different strengths and different concentrations. So there are quite mild ones that you apply every day. You don't feel that much of a sensation because when you apply these, it does actually feel like you've got thousands, if not millions, of microscopic spicules pressing into your skin.
Does it hurt?
It doesn't hurt. Definitely not if you're using the lower concentration ones. As you go up, you get higher concentrations. You get ones that you might use only a couple of times a week. Then you get the in-clinic level ones. We have something called Idanel that you wouldn't want to do more than once a week. It's uncomfortable. And what's interesting is that even, if you go to bed that night, you lie down, you turn on the pillow, you put pressure on your face, and you can feel all those spicules in your skin. And people always then worry about where do the spicules go and what happens to them. The evidence is that within 24 hours, almost all of them have gone. Within 72 hours, they've completely disappeared. So they've been sort of naturally exfoliated or shed by the skin, but it leaves this kind of really glowy, dewy appearance. And it's been shown to improve all sorts of things.
Have you had it done?
Yeah.
Do you have it done often?
I haven't done it recently, but I did go through a period where, because when we were bringing the product into the clinic, we obviously wanted to all test it ourselves. Everybody that has had it so far has loved it, but we're so busy in the clinic. It's finding that time to do it. It takes about half an hour.
And do you have to numb your face up
No.
before using it? No, just straight on.
You don't have to numb. You pat it in rather than rubbing it in because rubbing it just creates a bit of trauma, like if you can imagine these microscopic scratches on the skin. So application should be patting it in. It's also been shown that anything that you apply after the spicules will be absorbed better as well because you've got these little channels that you've created. So a lot of products will say to you, use it as the first step in your routine and then follow on with nice kind of comforting ingredients. You wouldn't want to go put your retinol on afterwards or anything like that, for example.
Give it to me all. I love trying new things.
She's going to be head to toe wrapped in collagen with microspicules and mealworms.
No, genuinely, I want it all. Korean sunscreen. Why is everyone completely obsessed with Korean sunscreen?
Have you tried it?
So I tried one. I tried the Beauty of Joseon one.
Okay.
And it was okay. It was quite nice.
So this is a very old belief now in Korea, but there was this belief that the fairer your skin, the more you were indoors. And if you were indoors, you didn't work the land. And so it meant that you were more affluent. So there was this very age-old belief that you had to protect yourself from the sun. So for years and years and years, they have been sun safe effectively, and they've been refining SPFs. So it's interesting. There is obviously hundreds of different SPF brands in Korea, but there is one central kind of company or manufacturer called Kolmar. And they create a sort of SPF base, and then lots of companies will go and buy into this, and then they'll add their own ingredient, and that's what makes their SPF. So a lot of them have a very similar base because they've all originated from Colmar. But Korean SPFs are very light. They are very, very dewy. They sometimes will leave a cast. I'll be honest, they will. But because so many of them are light textured, a lot of them don't. And they have this kind of wide range of different ones. They have something now called tone up sunscreen, which is meant to sort of enhance your tone and brighten your skin. It's just something they've been doing for such a long time. They've really refined it.
And do they have a broad spectrum? Do they protect against UVA as well as UVB?
They do.
And do they protect against visible light?
Visible light is something that's becoming more known about in Korea. They do. They have, interestingly, not SPF, but they have masks that prevent blue light damage. Blue light is becoming much more of a thing out there. Some of them do. I don't think all of them, to be honest.
One of the things I think about Korean skin is when we think about the hallmarks of aging, I often find that some of the features that you would see on Korean skin might be more sort of pigmentary change. So they get more of these like pigment spots or solar lentigines, those little sunspots on the skin, whereas they don't tend to wrinkle so much. Like the solar elastosis I don't see so often, but I just see a lot more of the sort of pigmentation. So for patients that have pigmentation, I tend to always recommend a really broad spectrum sunscreen, and ideally protection against high energy visible light or blue light as well, just to try and minimize any worsening of that pigmentation. Do you think that's something that's taken into consideration when they're creating these new compounds for sun protection?
No, I think you're absolutely right. They're definitely more aware of it now. My mum has avoided the sun for as long as I can remember. I can remember going for a walk along the South Bank years ago and the sun came out and she wasn't prepared for it. And I literally had to make an origami hat out of a newspaper. The sun protection was so important to her, she chose to wear this newspaper hat going for a walk. But she actually developed quite a lot of melasma and pigmentation that was really difficult to treat. So I think that they are very prone to it. And certainly, as I say, there are lots of SPFs that are coming onto the market now. But I think it's actually the same here. We have a lot of SPFs that won't protect you from that either. But yes, you're right. In terms of aging, we're quite lucky. I'm hoping I've got my mum's genes in terms of aging, but we'll see.
So one of the things that I notice, particularly from the Far East, is pigmentation. And so for a population that might be more prone to pigmentation, is there a real drive to establish and innovate new ingredients that might be helpful to tackle pigmentary issues? Do you think that that's something that Korean skincare is now focusing on?
So I think the prevention was always the focus. So SPF, sun protection, was always the key to Korean skincare, and that alongside protecting the skin barrier. But it's interesting. So I almost feel like the East and the West have kind of merged and combined in the middle. So what we're seeing in Korea now is more vitamin C's, more retinols. What you'll find is that they're a lot gentler, but they are more targeted towards pigmentation. You're seeing products out there that contain tranexamic acid, licorice root, all these different things. But traditionally, actually no, and it probably was something that they needed to be doing because that is something that skin type is more prone to.
Yeah, so rather than sort of just looking at preventative skincare, there's more sort of targeted treatment skincare now.
Absolutely.
That's the direction that we've been heading in for a while. Probably not so good at the preventative component, but quite good at treating the problem once it arises. But I think Korean skincare has been the other way, which I think Western medicine needs to follow on with. I think we need to be much better at prevention.
But equally, I think in the West, we're doing a lot more skin barrier protection now as well. Sometimes we
the
listen.
message is getting out there, finally. Look after your skin barrier. Stop ruining it. Stop using 250 products on your face. Glass skin is everywhere at the moment. I see so many images of people that like give their skin a little pat and it bounces beautifully. It reflects the light gorgeously. Do you think glass skin is really a thing? Is there any longevity of achieving glass skin? Or is it all just a short-lived thing, just for the gram, for the videos, and then it's done?
It's a bit of both, I think. I think there is certainly, going to see your dermatologist or your aesthetics doctor in Korea is like kind of maybe not going to the supermarket. Over here, if you say you're going to your dermatologist, somebody will say to you, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Whereas in Korea, it's something you do every month because
Every month?
Probably at least. People are going all the time. The slightest thing pops up. Because of the demand, it's very, very cheap. It's the same with Botox and things like that. So I think that, certainly the more you do to your skin and the more you do treatments, you are able to get more glass-like skin. Whether or not that's really healthy or necessary is another thing, because it can create quite an unhealthy relationship for yourself. It can have an effect on your mental health and things like that. This quest for having perfect skin. Actually, the term glass skin came from, I believe, a makeup artist called Ellie Rashid some years ago. She posted a picture of herself and said, this is glass skin. And then it just took off and became actually a marketing term, like the 10-step skincare plan was a marketing term dreamt up by an American company because they wanted people to buy 10 things. But if you speak to a Korean person and say, what's your 10-step routine? They'll probably not know what you're talking about. But yeah, glass skin is used to define what you would consider as this kind of dewy, poreless, perfect skin that sort of looks like glass. Certainly, I think the thing with Instagram, with filters, good bit of sunlight on your skin, the right product, it can look incredible. Whether or not that's really achievable, I don't think so.
I totally agree. I think it's really hard to achieve that sort of skin. And also, poreless skin is not normal. Like, your skin has pores. It's a physiological part of your skin, and it's completely healthy to have pores. And it's a good thing to help minimize the appearance of pores and sort of make sure that you're clearing your skin from debris. But there's no actual physical way that you can control the size of your pores. It's just all about sort of cleansing them and keeping it clean so there's no debris buildup in there. Then there's this whole glazed donut, dolphin, all the terms that have come off the back of glass skin.
Yeah.
People try to aspire towards it, but I don't think it's an achievable thing to aspire towards.
No, I don't think it's achievable. I think, to get skin that looks like that, you're probably in the UK particularly going to be spending thousands of pounds having treatments that are not without downtime, not without discomfort. And as you say, it's just not reality. We shouldn't be striving to try and achieve these things that are not completely normal. And I can tell you that I've seen lots of these people that, look amazing on Instagram, and they're kind of pressing their cheek and doing these various things, and they don't look like that in person.
I think that as well. Whenever I go to events, I look at people, and I guess the skin is just something that I'm drawn to. But I look at them like, your skin looks completely different to how it looks online. And I'm always really surprised by that. So yeah, I think for most people listening, just to know that real skin has pores. It's never going to be completely poreless and glassy. And just to achieve healthy skin, I think is the aim for everyone.
Been catfished.
Yeah. The whole population's been catfished. Christine, to round this episode up, what are your top 3 holy grail, ride or die products?
Okay, so the first one is a cream called Aestura. It's spelled Aestura. It's not been in the UK long. They have something called an AtoBarrier 365 cream. So this is the #1 dermatologist recommended cream in Korea. And for me, I actually have oily, acne-prone skin, but in areas I've got dry skin, and this is the one cream that is really quite rich that doesn't break me out. So that one has been an absolute breakthrough for me. And for any of my patients that have got dry or sensitive skin, I've recommended this to them as a sort of much cheaper alternative. So it's available on Amazon, and it's often on offer, and you can get it for less than £30. It's often £25, even £20. So that would be my #1.
I've used that and it's lovely.
You like it as well?
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I used it on my little boy and he liked it as well. No stinging, mummy. And this one didn't cause stinging.
Cute. A serum that I've been using at the moment, which is interesting, is Aestura have brought out a PDRN serum. And what's interesting about this one is I've been using it as a serum. It's quite light. It's very hydrating. But one of the girls from the company said to me, try mixing it in with your makeup. And for summer, I've been doing that, and it just takes the edge off your makeup being sort of noticeable. So it takes your foundation from being a foundation almost to like a CC cream. So that one I'm using every day, but more as a sort of makeup-y kind of hybrid. And then, so I guess at the moment, because it's hot, for people who want a kind of gel-based moisturizer, there's another new brand, something called Belif, Belif, has launched, and they have this Aqua Bomb range, but they have this very light gel moisturizer. And just seeing as it's like 30 degrees today, that's the one that I put on before I came. And then I guess if you were to think about the microspicules, genuinely we've had a lot of positive feedback from these. So we're using something called Idonel, which is the liquid microneedling. So patients come in, they have a series of 5 of these microneedling facials over a course of between 5 and 10 weeks. And that's been really, really popular. So that would also be another one if you were looking for a clinic-based treatment.
And I will be your next patient looking in for that treatment. Okay, that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Christine, for joining me and talking all things K-beauty.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to the After Hours Skin Clinic. Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Share us with your friends and family and send in your questions on Instagram or via email. All the details are in the show notes. And in the words of my darling Dr. Emma Craythorne, take care of yourself and your skin and wear your SPF. And see you next time at the After Hours Skin Clinic.
As always, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional before making a change to your treatment.